Right, this is the first step in establishing how to get access to the fuse panel in preparation for installing a dash cam in my 2019 Ford Focus. Well, apparently it is underneath the carpet and behind this panel, which apparently should just pull off. I'll let you know. Well, it is indeed true that the fuse panel is behind that panel. The only thing you've got to do, well, I found, is that this tang here, which is at the bottom, you do need to pull this part of the carpet back to give that freedom. When it goes back, this bit has got to go in that hole there, and the other two go right. This is what's going on inside the fuse box, and the fuses that I think I'm going to use are the ones marked 11, 12 or 18, 19. One's a 5 amp, one's a 7.5 amp, and there I've just tested and they are permanently on. And then further up there, that brown one, the 5 amp, that is what's it say, 15 and something, 15, 16. That is an ignition controlled circuit, so I'll probably use that. The reason I've chosen them is they're full size ones, and they're probably going to be able to fit a what they call a fuse taps, the piggybacking fuse things. And just to confirm everything, this is page 290 of the manual, and it tells you all about the fuses in there. And I've written on the top of here, view this way up in the car, because that's the orientation that you'll see. It took me a couple of seconds to suss out what I was looking at on the pages here, but that, viewed that way up, is what you see when you look in there. Okay, so that'll do for that bit. Right, well, welcome back. This is 2 days from my first section on the video. The reason for this gap is that there were some unexpected issues that materialised that caused me to pause the installation, and these related to the type of fuses used in the 2019 Ford Focus, which I will now cover. Most of the fuses used in this car are the Micro 3 variant, which some of you may not be familiar with. I wasn't familiar with it, definitely. So I'll show you a few things about it. The Micro 3 fuses, and there's one of them, as the name implies, have got 3 blades on them. Now, most of the micro fuses that I've seen before have only got 2. And the way these things work is that the centre one is the common or the hot terminal, and then you can probably just make out in there that there are 2 fuses per unit, each circuit supplied with a different fuse. They're both of the same amperage, obviously, and this is, in this case, is a 5 amp one I've used, and that also means that the fuse taps you might need to use, if that's the way you're going to go about this, need to be a 3-blade fuse tap, a la this. So I managed to get these off eBay, and the few things to note about these, in case you don't know, is that your new fuse needs to go in the top there. This is my new fuse. I've chosen a 5 amp one ready to go in. The existing fuse will be taken out and will go in that section there. And the way to identify these is the new circuit needs to come off the one that's nearest the wire, or in this case, as you can see, furthest away from the blades. A lot of the fuses inside there are all these micro 3 types, so I decided to protect myself from any future fuse going and being stuck without any, and I bought a bag of these off eBay for not an awful lot of money. So everything I've got here that I'm using all came off eBay. So that's where we stand at the moment. I'm just about to put the fuse taps into the chosen fuseways that I've used. I think I mentioned earlier on that I've decided to use the ones that are in the book here, 11 and 12, and this explains to me why 11 and 12 on here are separately identified. I thought those are just the terminal identification between 11 and 12, but actually, as you can see, now I've explained that the fact that that is a fuse on its own and that is a fuse on its own. They're two different circuits, all protected by individual fuses, but covered within one encasement. So anyway, I'm going to stick it in the fuseway 11 and 12, central security lock-in mode, and that's the one that I've chosen. I've already proved that that's permanent live. So let's get on with that. Right, well, that's the fuse taps in. As you can see, I've spliced the new ones, or crimped them on, I should say, there. That's what they look like up inside. You can see the brown, orangey brown ones there, the ends of my fuse taps. I'll be quite frank, the physical dimensions of the fuse tap, where it sits over adjacent fuses, on this one, the lower one in particular, just doesn't feel as though it's completely in there as tight or as far as it should go. But it's not wobbling or anything like that. It's just it doesn't seem as though it's engaged 100%. I'd say it's probably about 90% in. Anyway, the rest of the job now is to tidy up these cables under there and tuck them away somewhere behind the carpet, somewhere in there. So that's the next job. Right, one thing I did forget to mention, probably two things actually. One is the arrangement for the earth lead. Well, as you can probably see, probably doesn't take me to point this out too much, but there's an earth stud there. Where is it? Really torching the way. Oh yeah, there it is, the black lead down there, the earth stud that I've just tucked the earth lead under. And the other thing is this, which is the wait a minute, where has it gone? It's hidden away, fallen behind. Sorry about this. Right, it's this gizmo here. Right, so this is the voltage regulator, the purpose of which I'm pretty sure you probably realise if you bought one of these, is to make sure that if it's in parking mode, that depending on the position you set this thing on, it will cut off the recording before the battery voltage drops below whatever you've set it to. Taking advice from a guy, Craig, online, he's got some brilliant videos about how to do this, far better than mine. He said that he gets quite a lot of recordings with it in the most conservative setting, which is 12.4. So that's where I've put mine, and it's all done by moving this sliding switch. You can see where my finger is. So that's where I've set it now, to 12.4. It's not difficult to get in here by taking the fuse cover off and playing around with that later on if you want to. So I'll try it out at 12.4 and see how much recording I get, and I could always come back here and change the position later on. Okay, right, tidying up the cables now. Right, well, that's mine all done. That's the voltage controller there, just sitting. Haven't done anything to tighten it down anywhere, and those leads just hang down nicely. I'm not going to bother cable tying them together with anything. Don't see there's any point. So that's mine. Installation there, ready to be covered back up with a cover. Top tip when putting this cover back, just a point to note, there's a little symbol there on the cover that denotes a fuse. A bit misleading because it's only a 2-prong one rather than a 3, but anyway, I'll be picky on that. But locating the 3 lugs, is one in the middle at the bottom down here, and then 2 one either side. And it's a bit fiddly because you can't see what you're doing, you just do it either by feel. But top tip, the cover actually does make an imprint and leaves an imprint on the carpet down there. So if you line that up first and then push, you stand a good chance of getting them in the right place. And the other thing is, there is always a gap, well there is on my car, at the top there. So don't try and push this up too far and try and fill that gap, because you'll never locate the holes. Right, well, probably on now to run the rest of the cable. I'll be quite honest, even though I had a gap of a couple of days while I was waiting for the other bits to arrive, I did put all the cabling in anyway. And having done this job on a couple of BMWs that I've owned in the past, this one in comparison is an absolute doddle. So the leads for the rear camera, and also, no, wait a minute, the leads for the power supply come out of your voltage controller there. They go up under there. You can't really see what I'm doing here, can they? They come around here. You can just about see. That's it, I'm waggling my finger on it there. And I brought it up underneath this part of the panel, and it actually sits. Oh, did I? Yeah, I did. Yeah, because that's the rear camera. It came up here, out of here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Right, poking it out there, and runs all the way up here, up underneath there. This is the A pillar, lying on my back, trying not to break it. It comes round under there. You can just see it peeking out of there. Don't know whether you can see it very well, but hang on a minute. Yeah, there it is. Little tinker. And up under the head lining. Under here, and it fits under there really dead easy. And then comes out of there. Now, I did get myself into a right old state with this thing at one stage. And I believe, when I was just testing it out prior to fixing it, everything, that it was primarily caused by me putting this power lead that I've used from the fixed installation, if you like, rather than coming out the cigarette lighter, and I stuck it into the top of the GPS unit. And even though the documentation says that's not where you should put it, it doesn't make it that blooming obvious. And so the consequence of that was, when I was playing around with all the various settings and Wi-Fi and everything else, the whole unit locked up. I couldn't get control of any of these buttons. It was in permanent record mode. Every time I powered it up using the USB connector as well, it was always in record mode, and it was also in Wi-Fi. And as many of you will realise that from the instructions, that you've got to stop recording when it's in Wi-Fi mode. You've got to stop recording before you can exit and get access to the menu system, which is on this button here. Trouble is, if you can't control any of the buttons, then you're relying on the app to do it. Well, the app locked up on me as well, and I couldn't get any control either via the app or on here. So I was under the impression that I was gonna, I just couldn't use the damn thing. So I took it off, took it indoors, obviously leaving the GPS mount stuck to the window, powered it up using my my mobile phone's power bank, connected it into here, and I then did a reset. And many of you may already know, but in case you don't, on the side, see where the R is? Well, there's a little reset button inside there. and it's what they call a pin reset. So you push a pin of some sort, and if you've got a mobile phone and you've not managed to lose it, you'll probably find there's one of those in your case. Push something in there, cocktail stick might do it as well. Anyway, I reset it, and that did the trick and got it all back to, I think, all back to where it should be. So that's that. What I have done, I've made these cables a bit tighter, so I am going to tidy this up a little bit later on, but for the purpose of this video, assume that's been done. Now, the rear camera lead goes up there and follows pretty much the same route. It comes along here. Where are we? There, I'll follow my finger. Oh God, it's not very comfortable lying your back. There, down there, down there, and now takes a left instead of a right and goes along there underneath that rubber. Does a little bit of a jink around the top of there, making sure you stay well clear of any airbags, and then comes out there and then carries on. You can just see it, a little tinker, I think. Oh no, that's a rubber going out of there. All right, hang on a minute. Oh God. Right, so there it is, comes over there. I'll just show you, I'm not telling porkies. You can actually just see it in there, I think. Can you or not? Well, trust me. Oh, there it is, it's a better view. Anyway, it is under there, and all I do is just peel that back and stick it in. Then it comes round to here. Again, a little bit of a tight bend going round there. And then up under the headlining. It comes out there, goes along under the headlining. You can see it, there it is, plus all the gash. And then it needs to come out of there and then come up through there. And then once it's in there, with this panel removed, I'm not going to take it off again, but it just pops off. Don't be scared, it just pops off. There's a couple of pops all the way along there, and then comes out through a hole, and then you can stick the camera on there. Now the only problem I had with here was getting the lead that came up here, obviously, all the way through here and coming out of there. I used a wire coat hanger, poked it in down to this end. I took this off here, and I will say that was the only issue here is once you take this rubber grommet off, that actually makes a seal against a plastic insert, insert into the hole into the metal. And there's a little ridge on that, and that has to sit on it. Comes off dead easy, but putting it back in when you're trying to get the seal underneath from behind and back behind there is a right pain. So what I did, and you can just see the white plastic insert I'm talking about there, and I'm going to take it right off again because, as I say, it was a pain. It's got 4 tangs, 1 on each edge, and a bit of judicious poking with a screwdriver, tiny little screwdrivers, you can release them and get the plastic off. And once the plastic is off and running up here, you can put the boot onto the plastic, and then the whole assembled boot on top of the plastic just pops down, and those 4 tangs engage again. So that's the best way of doing that. Other than that, that was it really. It's a doddle, as I say, and it's doing the trick. So I think we've just about come to the end of the installation. Well, there it is. As I say, I'll turn it on now. Wait a minute. It's booting up. Right, here's the another update. Hopefully it'll be the last one. Previously I'd assumed that the problems I had in the past with the video camera was down to a bit of a lock up with the Wi-Fi and the like. But when I connected this all back up again, I had a lot of problems, and it was all locking up again. Anyway, long and the short of it was, what I'd done is when I pushed this back in here and banged it like that, it had just pulled that lead down a little bit. So even though it looked as though it was in, it wasn't. And so the problems were that the rear view camera was not connected properly, and it was locking me out. So thing to bear in mind, make sure you get enough play here so that when you put that panel back, it doesn't pull out. There you go. Everything seems to be working all right now, so let's hope this is the last addendum to my video.